This is Tanis, and it is a brand new day. I will be continuing a feature talk, continuing from the overview I gave of gods, death, souls, and family that I began the other day. Today, or at least in this video, I will be covering the subject of character families, which is a really expansive and almost disparate feature. It touches on a whole lot of different parts of the game, many of which. Are you back? And you found a pair of shorts? Many of which, like, I'll come back and say, oh yeah, and this relates back to family. Oh yeah, this relates back to family. And this other thing, yeah, it ties into family. But it's what it is it's almost like a hub or a nexus for a lot of other features in a really similar way to the other three that I'm talking about: gods, souls, and the other one, death. All right, let's go to the slide. All right, so I tried to create a comprehensive overview of what the family represents, because it's really like your account. I mean, your account is your character's family, and that family can take a lot of different forms. Your characters could be related, they could be adopted, they could be both. You bring new characters into your account, and they sort of you have a crowd, and it's composed of both player characters and non-player characters. And it will be the principal means of growing your available playable characters, which is why I have family and player characters on that side. There's a direct line, there's a direct correlation between the characters in your family and the playable characters that you'll have access to. Through marriages and alliances and adoptions, you'll be able to bring new races and classes into your fold. Now, one of the things that I want to differentiate right off the bat is that there will be a difference between content that is available on a PvE basis and a PvP basis. In PvP, essentially nothing will be locked behind progress, or play, or whatever. In the interest of making things a level playing field in PvP, you'll have access to things that you would ordinarily play through in order to get access in PvE. So through exploration and alliances, and marriages and adoption, you gain access to new features as they become available. But if you want to see what those features are like right now, they'll be available through PvP. Also, many achievements will be tied not to your individual characters per se. Some will, but not all. Many of them, in addition to the unlocks, will be, or the corresponding unlocks, will be accessed through your account, through your character's family. And that's characters S apostrophe, not characters apostrophe S, for those who it makes a difference. As your characters retire and die, and you can memorialize them, there will be a whole sub-feature that I will expand. This will be a means of player and character expression. You'll be able to build out an elaborate necropolis that you can decorate and commemorate your characters' past, and use them to essentially create a character, family, clan, history, or tradition that you can share with other players. You can invite people to come and view your character's necropolis. You can construct different memorials and buildings and furnish them, and you can establish your own festivals. And importantly too, this plays back into death and souls. It will be your primary means of communing with past characters. So if you want to create, and this will come into play more with beliefs, but if you want to create correspondence between living and dead characters that you have played formerly, let's say you want to, it gets complicated and into some of the nitty gritty mechanics. But I mean, let's say you want to channel an ancestor. Let's say you want to take on some feature or class that may have been lost or locked behind a dead character. You can do that through a form of possession that you may have access to through memorializing your characters. This is a mechanic and a system that is going to be built out, but I mean, like I said, this is an area where family interacts with another set of mechanics that's too complicated to sum up in this video, and will have to be discussed in another. So, in the gods, faiths, and beliefs system, your family will be where you are, or your family or your account is where you'll be able to track your character's belief systems. So this is another group of mechanics that are based on gods and alignments, your exploration of the world and worlds beyond, and the sorts of beliefs that your character interacts with, and then creates this pool of beliefs that you can ascribe to your own characters and accounts. So let's say your character has encounters belief in reincarnation. If you adopt reincarnation into your belief system, then you will have discounts on certain types of resurrection. So let's say that your characters move on through the afterlife, as I discussed in a previous video. They reach their final reward and whatnot. They will become eligible for reincarnation, at which point you can carry over some of the character's karma and skills and maybe even some memories, and be able to access some of those things that you had as a previous character in what is essentially a new incarnation of that character, you know, in a sort of proper incarnation sense. It won't be like respawns. It'll be like, you know, character dies, play another character for a while, reincarnate as that previous character, right? There'll be some time associated with the difference, to reflect, like, you know, this character died and was born again. Additionally, skills and techniques which can be developed may be particular to certain clans, traditions, and skills and whatnot. And these are the sorts of things that you can sort of unlock with your account that will be available to your character pool, essentially, that can be trained, shared, passed on. And if at some point those techniques or skills are not a part of the game's regular meta, they may be phased out. And so to an extent you may not be able to get them from NPCs, but you could get them from other players. And so what this does is it creates a sort of secondary market, if you will, for skills and techniques that may only be available to certain, you know, like player character and NPC dynasties that keep certain traditions alive. And so, you know, what it does is it's sort of like the player economy, but it's an economy of skills and traditions. So when you go into certain events or certain PvE things, you may see other players with skills that you haven't seen. I mean, and what this is it's a way of adding a layer of prestige to, you know, founders, early adopters. Oh no! Did you hurt your head? Did you swing it around and hurt yourself? Oh, sweetheart. I'm here. It's okay. I'm sorry. You have to be careful when you're playing with those things. You really get hurt. Oh. You feeling better?
Work?
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you play with that. If you swing it around, you can hurt yourself. You better now? Maybe play with something a little softer.
What? Milk?
Oh, you want some milk? Okay. As soon as I finish my video, sweetheart. You want some water? No, you want some milk? No, you can't put the Cheerios in the water.
What?
And then the last aspect is that as you play through as different characters and bring certain skills and techniques, certain non-combat skills in, you'll be able to effectively train other members of your character's family and have them appear in the background if you have some mercantile skills. Some of your character's family can serve as vendors. You know, you'll have, I mean, let's say realistically or semi-realistically, immersively, that your character has, you know, these sons and you need to keep them busy. So like, you know, this one you have farming and this one you have tending the animals and then this one you have, you know, taking stuff to market. It's in a fairly agrarian, like rural setting. You know, you can have different characters managing in a form of automation, in a form of things that you can do as a character, but that you can also assign family members to an extent. The more you play, the more access you'll have to these automation techniques. And so that will play into the sort of passive reward system where players who play longer are able to get access to certain things. Now, that said, as time goes, this is a system that will be more vertical than horizontal. So over time, your family will specialize in something. Like you might be able to get like baseline goods and services that your family can produce. Like maybe you've got a cobbler, maybe you've got a leather worker, maybe you've got, you know, somebody who makes nails. And again, this is going for like the medieval fantasy aspect. Like let's say that your family is largely self-sufficient, that they can produce their own food, their own clothing, and basic tools. But then you specialize in breeding horses. So your family breeds horses, which you can then you can submit to competitions and races. You can trade them and sell them to other players, and your account, your character's family, will be really good at horse raising and horse breeding and horse training. But what I want to do is prevent this sort of economic stagnation that happens as accounts age, and early adopters are just the best at everything. I don't think that's fun. I mean, it's fun to a degree for the one player who can do it, right? It's if you can do everything and you have everything, then that's good. But it eliminates that important competitive edge that you have to have for a flourishing player economy. If everyone is good at everything, then nobody relies on anything on anybody else for anything. So I mean, this is how you can build up your trade alliance. This is how you can build up your guilds. This is how you can build up, you know, generation upon generation of characters. And maybe you and a friend will marry off children to each other so often because, let's say, your clan or your account trains sword masters and your friend trains priests or mages or thieves or something, and it's like every other generation you do a swap where you send a trained sword master over to your friend, and they send you a sneak thief, and you have this back and forth, and everybody can rely on each other, um, with notably any deficiency in the player base. I want to make sure is covered by a baseline of NPCs available to fill the same tasks. An NPC will never be as good as another player, but they should be sufficient as sort of like what, when a new player comes into the game, NPCs will represent that baseline that another player wants to meet until they can eventually exceed it. An NPC will never be as efficient, as effective, or as innovative as a player, but they will serve as that important baseline to create like the bottom line in any economy. And that is the most concise summary of the family slash account wide player system as I could come up with in 20 minutes or less. So at the time of recording, none of these videos have any views at all. We are at 0 views across the board. Hopefully in the coming days, we'll see some more people come in and we will get some questions. I love to answer questions. I would love to go into more depth on any of these, or even have some like face-to-face or face-to-video camera chats. I love questions. Bring on the questions. I hope to see you again in future videos. Thanks for watching.